How to stop clients from ghosting after you have sent your work. You delivered the final work and now your client's vanished. No final payment, no response, no approval, no closure. And in this training, we're going to show you how to prevent that ghosting before it even starts using your contract clauses, communication holds, and client management strategies that are going to keep you protected and paid. Welcome to the Aligned Business Series. My name is Acacia Thornton. I am a longtime business advisor and legal attorney. Now, today is a really big one that happens with so many of my clients, which is why I wanted to set an entire topic about how to stop your clients from ghosting. Because let's be honest, it happens. And maybe you've done it too. Look, the reason why clients ghost is often a lack of communication, assumptions, or just distractions. It rarely is malicious or intentional. And we'll hear a story here with one of my clients where you start to wonder, I can't tell, was the person being malicious or did they just lose track of things? But when it comes to our clients, there's so many things that get left in assumption land. They get left to these open limbos. We assume because we have deadlines and deliverables with a payment schedule for the other side that everything else is going to happen as it should. Well, when it comes to how to treat one another in our relationships, there's much that can be left to be desired. When is communication due? Does anything happen if there isn't communication? How can you do your work if the client doesn't give you what you need? So that is why today is such a really big deal. And I'm going to just start off with telling you a client story of mine. She is a marketing and logo design business owner. She's been in business over 10 years. Girl is really good at what she does, has some phenomenal clients. And one of those clients, they had a 6-month project together. It was a full branding package. She was going to create the logo, the website, make a bunch of visual marketing ideas and things for him so this client could use them in his social media. Right. And along the way, they have different milestones. They're checking in, going here. This looks great. He's responding, loves all her work. And this great, beautiful communication happens for 5 months. Everything felt solid. Everything felt ready to bring it into that finale. So in that final month, of course, my client is putting everything together and making sure that this final deliverable is fully stacked and amazing. And then she sends it. Silence. The client never responded. Is it good to go? Is it not good to go? What does she do? So she sends up some follow-ups. Hey, just want to make sure you loved everything. Hey, is it good? Where are you on this? Weeks go by. So she sends the final invoice, right? She did all the work. She's done her 6 months of work. It's time to get paid. So she sends that and more silence, more ghosting. And she's following up now. She's chasing this customer down for payment for work she had done weeks and at this point it had now been months. And he finally calls her back and he yells at her. This is horrible work. I'm not going to approve this. I'm not going to pay for this. And she's like, well, you get 2 rounds of revisions. Just let me know what to change. And he's like, no, I refuse. He wasn't interested in a solution. He just wanted out. And what does that leave her with? She did the work. Everything was going well. And the client had approved all of the first sets of stages. Well, what could have been so dramatically wrong with the final deliverable that it deserved ghosting and rejection of payment? See, the real problem here was not the work. It's that the contract had milestones and deliverables and revision limits. She gets to included revisions, but it didn't say what acceptance looks like. And acceptance is a key word here because acceptance is when we're done. When are we actually done with the work? She assumed the client would always communicate. And that's one of those key assumptions there. We don't know what's happening on the client's end. Maybe he didn't like the work. Maybe he got distracted. Maybe he found a better deal. Maybe something just fell through with his business or his life as a whole, and he didn't prioritize this anymore. She My client should not be on the hook for what may go wrong on the customer's end that she's not in control of or aware of, which is why it's so important to make sure that we know that delivery equals completion, and completion means the payment is due, right? Her project ended up stalling in this legal and energetic limbo. There was no place for either of them to go or to clarify what should have happened because neither put anything in the agreement that clarified when done means time to be paid. And so there was no final trigger for payment. Silence didn't count as project closure. She did not account for what if the client doesn't communicate. She had nothing to enforce, and the customer's inaction became this limbo loophole. And what this impact was on her business was not just her time and her energy, right? Because she spent hours chasing a customer for communication and closure, and then chasing down an invoice that he says wasn't due because he didn't approve the work, right? She was ghosted. That just has an effect on you personally. You wonder, is your time and who you are and your business valuable? Because they are. You put a lot of heart into this. And then her revenue was delayed, which means her bills and everything else about her business and her budget are delayed. So are the timelines. Can she move on to other projects? What if he had come back after 2 months and said, okay, now I'm ready for revisions? She's going to be like, well, I hadn't heard from you in 2 months. I don't have the bandwidth for that. Or I have family vacation. I'm not planned for that. When we leave these things in this limbo, there's a lot of energetic fallout. You personally, your business, your revenue, your projects, and your other clients all become impacted by this limbo, this assumption land. So how do we fix it? The fix is very simple. It's called an acceptance clause. And it's a clause that simply says, hey, when this happens, this is the timeline to get back to me, request revisions, or do A, B, or C. And if not, we're done. Acceptance delivery is closed and it's time for payment. So it clarifies what the timelines are for action and for inaction when it comes to the next step. Client, you might have 2 revisions left in your contract, but you can't come back 6 months from now and request them then. You have this much time to come back and ask us. Hey, client, you didn't get back to us in this time. We get to assume things are done. And according to the agreement we have together, that written contract that you signed, we are done and payment is due. Now, of course, as business owners, you can always grant exceptions, but here you would have a choice because you've communicated in your client agreement with an acceptance clause. So ghosting can't delay revenue anymore, inaction can't do anything, and payment is actually officially legally due now because the contract said it was. There was something that tied the delivery moment to when the payment becomes due. It wasn't awaiting in revision, approval, or anything else land. There was clear communication in that agreement. Now, it's not just in the agreement that you want to have this in. You also want to, set these expectations when you talk with your clients in the beginning. Hey, this is how I work. I need to hear back from you within 5 days. If you need an extension, that's cool. I just still need to hear back within 5 days. Otherwise, I've got to move on. I need to handle my business. I want to get to the other parts of your project, your client. This is how we stay on our timeline and on our budget. So you can use these different types of project management and timeline management with your clients. And you communicate this verbally in the beginning, setting the expectations of how you want to be treated. But most importantly, you put it into that client agreement. And this story here that I'm telling you about my client, it was one of the main reasons I created my program, Aligned Clients Paid with Purpose, because this entire situation is easily avoidable, easily preventable with one sentence, one simple sentence in that contract. And it's not a legal sentence. It's not a legal sentence, which means you as the business owner can write it. You can decide what goes in it. And so that is literally what module 1 of my Aligned Clients Paid with Purpose program is, hey, here's how you're going to want to think about this. And here's literally the copy paste of the pieces you want to make your clause. So you can just copy paste it right into your agreements. Put it right into your emails with your clients. It's that simple. But we don't let it be that simple until we've been ghosted or don't get that payment or things drag out. So that is one of the reasons I really, really highly suggest you get an acceptance clause into your agreements ASAP. Now, as always, I'm going to open this up to live Q&A. As I do, I'm going to go ahead and put that Align Clients Paid with Purpose on the screen in case you wanted to check out that program. It's ceolegalcoach.com/aligned clients. And that's aligned-clients. So it's right there for you. But let's get to some of the questions because I see them coming in. All right. What do we got? Okay. If I use an acceptance clause, is it enforceable in court if they ghost me? Yes. Yeah, if it's in the contract and both parties, you and the client have agreed to that and signed it and it's a contract clause. So even though it's not, something written by a lawyer, it's something you agreed to. So that means that as long as it's followed, guess what? It's enforceable. And so if they don't follow it, but you did, that's absolutely enforceable. So yeah, it absolutely is. And it would just be like, again, it actually clarifies everything for everybody, even the courts. This is what happened. This is the timeline that passed. This is the way the client did or did not behave. That triggers payment due on this date. So it makes it very clear because even my client story that I told you earlier, that limbo, well, that's a legal limbo too. If you go to the courts, now they have to be like, okay, well, she did give this much and this and that. Does he have the right? Open-ended questions. Where in court, if you have that acceptance clause, well, everybody has to answer right there. So yeah, absolutely enforceable. I've been ghosted so many times. I feel jaded. Is it really possible to stop it from happening? In today's day and age, it's very easy to be distracted by life, distracted by finances, distracted by business needs, anything. And we don't know what's going on our client side. We don't know if something fell apart with the business. We don't know if sometimes just energetically, once we sign up for things, we're like, oh, we feel the relief and we kind of let them linger. They don't get done. And this happens for everybody, depending on where they are. And with life nowadays, there's so many things pulling us. So that's why we don't want to leave the limbo. We need to make the boundary clear. So it really is as simple as deciding what it is. And like I said, once it's in your contract, it's enforceable. Everybody agreed to it. That's what's beautiful about a client agreement. It's an agreement. You have both agreed to behave, respond, treat each other that way for the value exchange, your deliverables, your time, and your service for their payment and their responses. So yes. Sometimes you might have to remind your clients there, hey, don't forget that if I don't hear from you by day 7 or whatever timeline you agreed to, payment will become due. So do let me know if you want your revisions or whatever. You sometimes have to remind the client in an email, but you don't actually have to remind them. Legally speaking, you don't have to, but it is good customer service. But yeah, once that boundary is set and agreed to, it's yours. So absolutely, it will keep things moving. It's back the number one way to keep things moving and making sure you're getting responses. Yeah, because there's a consequence. It's a good consequence, but there's a consequence if there's ghosting. Yeah. Will aligned clients paid with purpose help me with this specifically? Yes. So the program I created, the QR code is still on the screen. Module 1, this is literally what Module 1 is. You're going to hear different client stories in all 3 of the modules. There's 3 modules plus a bonus. And you're going to hear different client stories throughout all of them. And then what we did to solve this. What we did, the sentence, that's what's great about every one of these modules is 1 sentence each. 1 sentence will resolve all of the problems, just like an acceptance clause will here. And yeah, this is Module 1. You'll watch the short video. It'll help you brainstorm, tell you client stories. You can learn and hear from what others are seeing and doing. And then it'll walk you through. You'll pick like 3 to 5 questions that you want to answer for your business so they can make it yours. Because that's one thing about templates. If you have a template already, whether you got it from AI, you downloaded it somewhere, it's not going to have this. It's not going to have an acceptance clause because acceptance clause must be custom to your business. You pick them, you decide them. So that's what the first worksheet will go through is just walk you through like the 3 to 5 things to decide. And then you copy paste them. I literally give you the sentence, put question 1 here, put question 2 here, put question 3 here, and I'll copy paste it. And then I tell you where to put it in your contract. It is that simple. And so module 1 is for acceptance clause. Module 2 is scope creep. Module 3 is all about termination clauses, and you get a big win bonus. I love my big win bonus. I give that to all of my private clients. I love that one. But yeah, no, the program will help you with this specifically, give you the word for word line to copy paste right into your agreements, into your emails. Absolutely. All right, one more question. What do we have here? What can I do if the client ghosts and hasn't paid the final invoice? Okay, so back to the contract. Has anybody actually agreed on what happens? If you're left in that legal limbo, you are kind of stuck chasing them down for a bit until it really hits a tipping point of, well, they're officially in breach of contract. So you want to find something that's maybe been agreed to in there that might give you that official tipping point, because otherwise you're left in limbo. And that really, really, really sucks. And then, of course, if there is, true actual, this is due, here's the invoice, and you haven't paid the invoice and time has gone on, then you would do your normal collections or small claims court, depending on what's ever easiest for your state. Different states have different approaches to that, and to get that money. And usually, in my humble opinion, hiring an outside company to just do those, you give them a piece of it, but they do all the work. So that's nice, because then you don't have to worry about it, and it'll help you get something rather than nothing. Because otherwise it's your time and your effort chasing down that payment. And you're too valuable to your business and your other clients to keep that up. But if you have this acceptance clause, it is legally triggered, so you can actually go get, whatever enforcement that you need, where if you don't have an acceptance clause, you are left in limbo. All right, everyone, if you want, you can check out the full replay of this. So get the link at ceolegalcoach.com/aligned business series. This is an entire series. We're going live 3 times a week for a number of weeks. Won't tell you how many, but we're going to hit client stories and real world situations in every single one of these. So if you go to that website, ceolegalcoach.com/aligned business series, you are going to get, you're going to have the replay sent right to your inbox, and you'll get the weekly schedule and times. Otherwise, I will see you on Thursday when we go live with our next topic. Oh, you're going to want this, especially if you are designing or consulting or services like a coach. You're going to want to be in on